All right, and state your name.
The KK from Waianae.
Perfect. And just, I'd like you to speak your mind on today's events.
Certainly. So, on today's events, well, confusing to say the least. I'm basically here to voice my opinion and concern for the illegal dumping of the chemical washout that was used to clean the boiler system. It was found out just by chance that Honua was blatantly and knowingly dumping harmful chemicals into the ocean proper. Really short story, we confronted Honua and they did a bunch of backpedaling and couldn't provide any kind of permits for disposal, and basically how would they put it? They put it, they inadvertently dumped the chemical, meaning it was an accident. But if you've seen what I've seen and the amount of chemical that was being dumped, that was no accident. And the procedures, you have to use a air compressor. It's a pneumatic system, so you got to use 2 or 3 different devices to flush it out. You just don't turn a valve and it starts pouring out. You got to do this, that, and this, and so somebody told somebody to do that. And reason being, it's real simple. It'd be thousands, hundreds of thousands to dispose of the chemical properly.
So you think it's a money deal? Is what
course.
They did it about? Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Because you can't dispose of this chemical on the island. You got to ship it to the mainland, at a proper facility.
So you feel like they didn't want to go through the red tape, they didn't want to actually do the proper procedures, so they just
to save
try
money.
to tuck it under the rug.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
I heard about a hidden hose. Do you know anything about that? Did you see the camouflaged hose that was spoken of in the meeting?
Yeah, it was. I can attest to it being as such, but it was definitely not easy to see.
I see.
Yeah.
And did you actually see that? You physically see the liquid
Yes,
being disposed
of course.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Gotcha.
of course.
Just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, of course.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this?
Yeah, the one gentleman, and I'll leave names out of it for now, who Honua representative stated that it's okay to drink and brush your teeth with. So I actually went over and took a little dab, put on my tongue, just for shits and grins,
Yeah.
And no, I wouldn't brush my teeth with it. Tasted like easy off oven cleaner and left kind of oily film.
It was a very chemical-y taste.
Yeah.
Because it was chemicals. Okay.
It was a chemical.
Can you just state your name and why you're against Honua? A little bit about.
My name is Navahini Kahopi'i. I'm against Honua for many reasons. My main concern is the taking of the 21 million gallons of water a day out of the aquifer and injecting over 16 chemicals into it and then re-injecting it back into the aquifer. My main issue.
How long have you lived on the island? Have you seen other things like this going on throughout the course of your life here?
I'm Kanaka Ma'ole, so my genealogy is actually from South Kona, but I'm in Waimea now. It seems kind of like standard. This is the usual process. It's almost always after the fact. The building is built already. Some things are already operational. According to the hearing that we witnessed today, it's sort of we're gonna wait and see kind of how it goes in terms of having to do any additional permitting, where the additional heated wastewater is going to go and so forth. And that's just kind of common practice. An EIS wasn't done because why? Because the health department isn't in charge of an EIS. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that they can't refer to an EIS, because isn't their mission statement to preserve the health of the people and the environment? So looking at all of the issues that are brought up, it would seem common sense to me that the next step would have been that it was out of their league, in fact, and they would have requested an environmental impact statement to cover all of the questions and issues that have come up.
What has been, kind of other than that, your assessment of this public hearing this morning so far, this informational section? What did you notice about folks who are either pro or against, and any kind of sympathies or thoughts around the folks who are in fact pro this this power plant?
Well, I think that the taxpayers of Hawaii should be outraged because our tax dollars were spent for this hearing and also to hire a facilitator, and the presenters were Honua, in fact. So my sense of the meeting was that Honua presented whatever their case is to try to convince people to not be upset about that, to not want an EIS and so forth. The room was equally filled with Malama Hamakua, people who live in Hamakua who, as I viewed it, were iced out. They were not given equal time to do their presentation of the facts and information that they have. The questioning, I feel, was very shallow in terms of what kinds of questions people could ask and who was chosen to ask questions or to comment. So for me, it feels like obviously it was stacked for Honua, and in my opinion, the Department of Health should have been completely neutral. Both sides should have been able to present, and if they hired a facilitator for the health department, then they should have hired equally a facilitator for Hamakua, so that things would have been equitable in that meeting. I find that personally outrageous and outraged. Also, Honua's people were all paid to be here today. So that room that was filled, there was half a room filled with green shirts, and they got paid to be here. And people from the Hamakua side who are protecting their community, including myself, had to take off of work, losing money, coming way out of your way, giving up a half a day of your time. We have so many other things we could do, of course, but this is really critical. So it's a typical position that the state and the county take almost against the residents and the inhabitants of our islands.
One more question, just as if I had never heard of Honua, can you explain briefly what it is, and feel free to add any color about egregious environmental impacts that you know about it?
Well, off the cuff, they say that it's bioenergy and it's sustainable and it's renewable, and none of that is true. The eucalyptus trees are going to be clear cut and dragged over there and burned for fuel. That's not sustainable. There's so many parts of it. Eucalyptus trees are toxic, in fact, for the ecosystem and the rest of our fragile environment here. The emissions that are going to come out of the power plant are not going to be monitored, if I heard correctly today, or they're going to be self-monitored. That's what it was. They're going to be self-monitored. So we're suffering the effects of climate change here. The water is rising. We have an increased amount of hurricanes and so forth. So that whole point of that is not even being looked into. Another that I feel is an absolute, just unbelievable horror story is the 21 million gallons of water a day, pristine water out of our aquifer, being laced with toxic chemicals and then being re-injected into the aquifer. I can't even believe that that would be something that would even be considered. So those are just a few things amongst many things. The spill that happened on Friday, that overflow, there's documented evidence that it did flow into the ocean. It was a lot, many hundreds of gallons, I believe, more than what was reported. So, and they haven't even gotten off the ground yet. So we don't know where this is going to go, but we can say, because historically it's never been any other way, that by the time it's an environmental disaster, which it will be, no one will stop it. And we have evidence of that in every project. And I can say that confidently. Every project that's been brought to our moku has ended up there. And the Department of Health is then nowhere to be found. A good example of that is the dairy. So, unfortunate that we're paying our government to pillage and plunder and to shut us down when we try to be civil and say something about it. So,
thanks, Anna. Can you state your name, who you are, what you work for, what the Sea Shepherds are? Start there.
Okay. My name is Andrea. I live on Hawaii, the Big Island, on the Puna side. I work with Sea Shepherd as a volunteer. Sea Shepherd has been trying to protect the oceans for 40 years now from different, very different things that are going on throughout the ocean. And this is very important right now to all of us. not just because it regards the ocean, but it's the ocean as the Sea Shepherds see it. It's one big ocean. We're tackling everything because whatever happens on one side affects the other side. Not necessarily directly because we don't see it immediately, but it affects it really, really strong.
And pretend that I didn't know anything about Honua. Could you explain really quickly what Honua is and anything you know about it, and feel free to add your own knowledge about the environmental impacts of this project.
I think when we first came here, we didn't know that much about it. It kind of keeps a low profile. Luckily, in the last couple of months, we got more involved and we started learning a little bit more about what they do. This whole idea of producing energy in a clean way and or a cleaner way, like they're trying to sell everybody, it was very interesting as it started to attract us and say, okay, what's going on here? It kind of sounds like we've heard this before, like, oh, this is an excellent alternative to other things. But we all live here. We live off the grid. We know how clean energy can be. So when we started researching and thinking, what are they trying to say? What is this company trying to say? We have all these other alternatives that are not fully being solar and fully being, off grid. We know how we can live off grid and be zero impact. So we were trying to see what they were trying to do, and we just started researching and to talk about the community, with the community a little bit more, and we realized that, just this whole idea of having a plant that produces power on cleaner energy. Sorry, my kids are kind of distracting me for a second. I'm like roaming around. They always roam around with me, just trying to get them involved. Anyway, this company just trying to, sell to us in the island that what they're doing is okay, that the way that they're producing this energy is clean and it's effective, is the best way and the most effective way, the cleanest way that we can do it here on the island, was really what called us to pay more attention to it, because we know that it can be much cleaner than what they're saying. And kind of tricky, all this, oh, this is another alternative. We always want to check out when somebody that doesn't have full clean energy tells us, oh, this is another alternative that can be used, but we're doing all these things. But we're not willing to talk about them. And when you ask us questions, we're just gonna kind of divert them. That's when we kind of, as a community on the Puna side, started saying, even if it's not on our side, right, it's on the Hamakua coast, different technically side, we're like, okay, when you start saying little things like, oh, we have the information, but we don't really want to tell you, or, I think I got a little bit off track. Sorry.
Okay. What specifically, and feel free to hold her because it's a great shot. But if she wants to walk away, that's too. What specifically are you concerned about in terms of Honua? What are your concerns?
Our concerns are not just the ocean, and Captain Watson, the founder of Sea Shepherd, has said something very important to us that has made a big statement for all of us throughout the years. It's everything that we do, we're either leaving in the land and it's turning back into our soil, we're burning and it goes going back into our air, or we're throwing it back into the ocean, which is our water and life itself. I know you hit me with that one, didn't you? Come here, Samaya.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Don't worry, I'm on it.
You're on it.
So what we're more concerned about is all the chemicals. That's it. Basically, a lot of things produce emissions, and that's a big thing to tackle. But when it comes to chemicals that are being directly thrown into the ocean or into the land itself, it's very concerning, because people have this idea that if you throw it in the ocean, it's just there's a big ocean, right? You can clean it. Or we're throwing it in the land, it's not hitting the ocean, but we forget that it does hit the ocean. So all these chemicals are definitely our biggest concern about their practices. In the talk, it was first a couple of chemicals, and then it was more, and then we really don't know. That's the problem. Our concern is that most likely the information given to us is not necessarily correct. We don't know if it's only this amount of chemicals. They don't even know, I think, if how harsh it is for the Aina or for Kai. So that is our biggest concern.
Thank you so much. You're good. You're good. So can you please state your name, who you are, what you do in the community for the camera?
My name is Jarek Baderis Garcia, and I live in Pepeikil. I am also the Vice President of Pepeikil Community Association, and also the Chairman of the Shoreline Fishing Committee.
Do many folks in your neighborhood depend on fishing for subsistence living and to feed their families?
Yeah, a lot of them. Right now we got about 70 fishermen signed up in that association, that committee, Fishing Shoreline Committee. Happy to have those guys there because they make the community. you know, and what I'm doing is nothing for them, you know. That's something that is, I think, owed to these guys, you know. 'Cause not everybody can afford to go to town and buy food every day, you know. So, yeah, these guys are making use of the resources, and about a year ago, that's when it all started for me. When I took that Kuleana and made it mine, you know, took over the fishing and it was work because the fact that there were squatters on that shoreline, you know, and the gated community there really wanted to be left alone. They didn't want to acknowledge that there was a fishing association for that, from that community, from our community. So, the thing is, there's a gate there along that community property there that Pippikill Community Association has a contract with who manages the shoreline, right? And so that contract allows the fishermen to get to the shoreline, vehicular access. You know, not the whole shoreline is vehicular access, but that is our goal. And there was a lot of squatters. They were mad at the fishermen. They blamed the fishermen for everything that is happening in that place. And I asked them for a chance. Since 25 years or so, it wasn't being maintained the right way. And when I took over, I told them, give me a year and let me prove to you guys that it's not the fishermen of our community that you guys claim doing all these things in your community. And so I was fortunate that they gave me that opportunity to prove to them that these fishermen is an asset to everybody in that gated community. The fact that they know where they stand, they know what is pono, they know what is respect. You know, we're the last generation of plantation days. You know, of how we were raised. Nowadays, you don't see the kids like how we were raised. You know, they get video games, they don't go outside. But anyway, by me doing what I did, I just made their concerns in that gated community my concern. And by doing that, man, it worked out great.
And why are you here today in opposition of Honua? What are your concerns about Honua? And if as much as possible you can answer my question with a full statement, because we won't necessarily use my questions.
Okay, yeah, well, you know, yeah, when I first was made known about the plant Honua, I would have to say that is right when right before Warren Lee took the presidency, and I never got to meet the president before him, but at that point we just became the board in Pippikill, myself, Lito Archangel, and our treasurer and secretary. But we made an agreement amongst ourselves, and I told them that I cannot do it with people that do things for personal gain. The fact that we're a community, communication is key, and what our big test was to bring these communities back together again. Before, in the plantation days, it was camps, right, all over this town, and everybody knew each other. You know, you come in my house, eat lunch, you know, take off your shoes, but that's how it was, you know. Nowadays there's no. It was dying. That was dying. So we became the board, and the first two things that we must take care of is the kupuna and the keikis. That is our main concern in our community. That these people, the kupuna and the keiki, is who needs to be taken care of. Everybody in between that should be helping us take care of that. You know, making sure they're okay, making sure that our future will be okay, you know. And that's where the shoreline, it's huge, man. The fact that when I took over, there were squatters, they were raping the ocean because, you know, the squatters was using drugs, and they were just making a mess down there, you know, needles and everything. They just left it on the beach, on the shoreline, and we had to clean that up. And I did that, We've got confirmations from the board in that community that they're stoked. They're stoked that we did what we did.
And what specifically about Honua concerns you in relation to the ocean?
The fact that an EPA wasn't done before this project even started to get the quality of everything, you know? What's the dirt, the soil? What is the air around that area? What is the ocean? Everything needed to be tested. The fact that the starting numbers mean everything. And like today they're doing testing. What numbers they gonna compare that to? You know? I am not against Honua. We want community, yeah? And we was all for the fact that they're gonna create jobs for these guys. But look in that employment. That's not people from here. You got a handful of people in there that's from here. And these are the guys that are concerned about their jobs. I'm concerned about the job, but why would you want to work for somebody that's not loyal, not honest, most of all, not transparent to the community that you live in, you know? We all had family members that had gotten cancer, fight cancer. That's nothing you guys like play around with, you know? Nobody like that. Nobody wants that. But the day I got the call that it happened, that was a blessing, you know, from the man upstairs, because the fact that it was the day before I met a few of the workers who let them go fish. Okay? And I educated them on the findings that I had found 6 weeks before that. But I just said, hey, listen, this is what these guys want to plan on doing. So, you know, we get something to do, take care of the community, you know. I'm not expecting anything from you folks, because you guys are just trying to make a living, and that's what you guys do. So I'm just letting you know what is going to be done. Like, these guys want to inject our fresh water, you know. That's scary. They want to shoot it back into, discharge it in our bay. That is even more scary, because the fact that once I got that squatters off the cliff, in a matter of 7 months, yeah, you go down there today and you cast your pole in the water. I watch this every day. You guarantee catching fish. Not everywhere you go you can do that, you know. And so we have proof that what we've been doing with the shoreline has been working. It's working, you know. The resources are coming back. The OPEs are coming back. Everything is just getting plentiful again. And for the people in our community, man, they're so happy, because you know what? They go and they take what they need. They don't overfish it. And we don't need DLNR. You know, when I tried to call in for help to say, hey, you guys can help me clear the squatters off the cliffs, their first answer to me was, oh, that's not our jurisdiction. So, you know, at that point I feel like, well, what can you do? You know, I just gonna have to tax myself, and you know, approach them like, I'm brother, who would I say, hey guys, you know, you guys get people for say you can't be here. If you got, I walk away. If not, let me explain some stuff to you guys about what is about to happen for the community. This is a privilege, and it's about to be taken away. Now, with this plant coming up, you got the big black tarps covering that fence. Can't see in, you know, it's secretive, no transparency. The fact that, you know, we put it on the table when he first came in, warranty, and we listened to his introduction to us at my home, and you know, we took what he said and we put it right here. And then he also said that he wants to be part of the community, and okay, he shared with us his experience with family, you know, with cancer and stuff like that, and that right there is like, man, that is devastation, you know, when you hear that kind of stuff. And then now to think that what is happening and what could happen in the future, they don't care about it. Man, don't you forget the man upstairs gave you one chance to be humble, to do what's right for communities, and you're choosing not to, clearly. Like the newspaper said, we're moving forward no matter what. With that being said, man, you know that thing I held in my right here for that guy's introduction to me and my family? That thing just crushed me, you know? We're moving forward. He don't want to know what the community thinks. He doesn't want to know. Because why wouldn't you want it? Why? Why would you want to keep something that nothing good is coming out? The only one thing that might be good to these guys is what I call the creed of evil. The old mighty dollar. And as I say, people that do things for personal gain, I don't know. I don't know what kind of values they have. The fact that, man, I do what I do because you know what? Life is precious. And I might not know my neighbor 3-4 houses down the road. But when I see his kids running in the park, man, I feel good, you know. And knowing that my job as a vice president in that community is to look out and want to do things that's gonna make it safe or even draw more people to come, you know. We got big work ahead of us for our community, and we're moving on it, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna complete these things. And it's for the kupunas and the kikis. And man, I gotta think more of these things instead of thinking of Honua. The fact that more positive is coming out of something that I'm shooting for, you know, instead of something that they don't want to share no information with us. Okay, well, you know, but hey, the brotherhoods that work for them, I have no problem with them. It's not their jobs I'm after. It's just the quality of life I'm after. That's it. You know, you can't get quality of life anywhere else. You know, the people in other countries,
Yeah.
they wish they could have what we have.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank
Aloha.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, with the
And this
local
is Tribune Herald.
Oh. Come.
I'm just my own private citizen, just trying to find out information.
We're trying to find out what happened. So
We was
about lunchtime. You said.
about lunchtime, and we was not far from the running stream. You know, that black water, a black river of water that was going into the ocean. We traced it.
It's going over the cliff.
Coming over the cliff, coming over that concrete wall, that's a catch basin. From the catch basin, it was running full stream into the ocean. We asked around about the pump. We asked who was in charge of the pumping of the discharge of this wastewater. Nobody wanted to take responsibility for it.
What was the source of it?
The source of it, well, I'm not sure what the chemicals was, but that was a discharge from the boiler flush.
And did it look intentional? I mean, did
Yes, it was. They knew exactly what they was doing. They knew exactly what we was doing because they claimed that the subcontractors had done this. There are no subcontractors going to do this. The subcontractors that we have are scaffold people, insulation people, and the electricians. Who else is going to turn on? You really think that the scaffold guys is going to go over there and turn on a pump, open a valve? No. Everybody, subcontractors, they stay within their perimeters.
how long did it last for?
Oh, it was all day.
All day?
Correct.
Like, from that point to the end of the day?
No. The discharge started, they turned on the pump about 8 o'clock.
Okay.
It was turned off. I personally turned it off at 12 o'clock, 12:15.
When you saw it, you went and turned it off. Okay.
We couldn't stand the smell. We was 10 feet. We was having lunch 10 feet from that stream, from that running water.
2 tablespoons. 1 million gallons. Crazy, huh?
And then after that, personnel from Honua management came down. One individual got on my face. His name is Kevin White. He says, I will be watching every move you make.
So you
And
felt
threatened me
threatened.
with getting me dismissed, terminated.
Okay. Is your union involved in that then?
Pardon me?
You said you're a local iron worker?
I'm with the labor union.
Yeah, yeah.
Who wants information, they want to get in this, I will not do it. Not without legal counsel.
And you're still employed there? You're still on the website?
Yes.
Do you have any photos or documentation of
I believe
flow?
he's,
I get them. That will be released later on.
and we have a video of the black ribbon.
Okay. Will we get those today by chance? or-
Yeah, today, later on today, we're going to release them.
And then, so it was from 8 o'clock to about noon when you stopped
About
it.
noon.
Did they turn back on or?
No, they didn't.
Okay. But they called it an inadvertent spill. You don't think it was inadvertent?
No, they knew exactly what they was doing because the hose was camouflaged. It was covered.
Somebody
Someone tried to hide it.
decision to open that valve. Put it that way.
Okay.
It wasn't inadvertent. There's no way. Nobody tripped over anything. Whoops, no way.
No, because the air compressor had to be hooked up. It was a pneumatic pump.
No, was it the hose trying to direct it to a basin or something, or was it directed towards
It was
something?
dropped into the catch basin.
Okay.
The catch basin overflows and it goes into the ocean.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say about that, or just to Honua?
No. Well, like I said, when they were asked about somebody to step up to the plate and hey, be man enough and say, hey, we did it, or it's nothing to be concerned about. No, nobody would do it. Nobody had the balls to do it.
Have you seen anything like that before?
No. This was not, like I said, they knew exactly what they was doing.
And they is who Honua or somebody, a contractor?
Honua.
Honua. Okay. They're responsible for it.
They're responsible for this.
Thank you very much.
And the other guys, if they want to share something with like I said, we're all
Jordan,
in
I'd like
this
to get a
together,
little quick interview with Honorable Bush. He has to leave.
It's not a